Welcome to the Built After Hours podcast, where we talk with the bold entrepreneurs who built their service businesses after the world clocked out. Real talk, real risks, real results. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the Built After Hours podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Eaton, and this episode we're heading to San Francisco by the Bay to sit down with a guy who's been on an absolute mission the past 3 years, building his own cleaning empire from the ground up. My guest story is all about hustle, grit, and staying hungry. In just a few short years, he's carved out a name for himself in one of the most competitive markets in the country. We're talking about how he got started, the struggles, the lessons along the way, and what it really takes to grow a cleaning business in a city like San Francisco. So let's welcome my guest, Paulo Filho of Celestial Cleaning Services in San Francisco. Paulo, what's up, my man? How we doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me over. Man, I feel honored to be here. And I hope I can be of value to people and to your viewers. So thank you.
I know you're going to bring a ton of value, but I have to ask a question. Is this your first ever podcast?
First ever podcast. Can you tell?
No, I can't. No, you're a natural, man, but it's awesome. So we've had a lot of firsts on this show, from a person that sang on the show, from a person that told us about they were having a baby, and then now this is your first podcast. So this is pretty cool. So before we dive into your journey here, because we've got a lot to talk about, can you give the listeners a little background about yourself and the story behind your cleaning business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually started in 2017. We started in the residential industry at that time. And I was just kind of getting my feet wet right at the time. I used to do a little bit of sales. And I used to work particularly with small businesses. And so I learned a little bit about the house cleaning industry, decided to try that out while I was working full time. And then a few years later, decided to give up the house cleaning industry as the pandemic came and started to get into more of the commercial space. There was somebody who once told me higher risk, higher reward. And so that's when I thought about going into the commercial space. And now we've been in the commercial space for about 3 years now. And I could say it was the best decision I ever made.
No, that's awesome. And one thing that you said that I took a note of here, and you know, this podcast, Built After Hours, that's how a lot of us are in this industry, right? We're working after hours. And even some of us, we have jobs during the day, but you said you were working a full-time job. So tell me, were you working a full-time job during the day and then doing this at night?
Yep. So at the time I used to work in sales at Yelp.com, and I would work, 8 to 5 every day. And throughout the breaks, I'd be texting clients, emailing clients, taking calls. And my manager's like, "Hey, Paulo, where are you going?" My mom called me. It's an emergency. But it was actually a client looking to book a service. So if he's watching here today, thank you for being a good sport. He probably knew what was going on.
Well, I mean, good for him and good for you, right? Because I mean, you're hustling and you're trying to make it work. Because I'm sure you were still giving, still 100% to Yelp, and then trying to build your business at the same time.
Absolutely. I did one of my best months at Yelp in sales when I was actually doing one of my best months with my residential cleaning business at the time. And so I was like the number one sales guy on my floor. Business was kind of booming, and I was happy on both ends.
That's cool. I mean, and that's amazing to put in that much effort in both jobs and be successful right off the bat with the cleaning company and still be able to do your daytime job and be successful at it. So hats off to you for that, right? We get a lot of, I do consulting on the side, and I get a lot of new commercial cleaning business owners that are reaching out to me, and they're frustrated and they're tired because they don't want to go out and sell and do this and do that. Well, look at Paulo. He was working a full-time job and killing it, and then working his business at night and killing it too. So it is possible. You just have to have that mindset, that motivation to do it, right?
For sure. You have to. And you build that motivation over time, right? As you start getting little wins here and there, you start to get a little more motivated. Sometimes you have that initial motivation and then it like dies off. Little wins are very important.
They are. All the little ones add up to the bigger picture, right? Very cool. I wanted to ask you, because, I've met you in person. I think it was last year. Did we meet at the event in San Jose?
Yes, at the Cleaning Cocktails.
That's right, at the Cleaning Cocktails. I think a lot of people that I met at Cleaning and Cocktails. And there is a Cleaning and Cocktails event that's coming up this year in Nashville. Shout out to Ricky Regalado. I'm giving you a shout out for your Cleaning and Cocktails this year. But if you haven't got your tickets, go get them, cleaningandcocktails.com. But it's a great place because we met each other And, we networked with a lot of people, and I'm sure you met other people as well. I remember you were sitting at our table. What did you get out of these networking events, or that event in particular?
The energy, like when you, at least for me, when I visit one of these events and I see the enthusiasm and how happy people are to be in this kind of industry, in our industry in particular, it gives me more drive. And seeing that, it gives me more energy, right? Sometimes we're really tired and we're like, hey, I don't want to go to this event. But then you find a reason to go. And when you leave, you're always like, man, I'm so glad I went. I'm so happy I went. Because you always come out of there better with more knowledge, more friends, more, you just come out better. And that's the amazing thing.
Yeah, and you and I, we've kept in touch ever since that event, which is cool. I mean, I've been to a lot of other events with other industries. It's not like that. I think the cleaning industry is kind of a tight knit industry, right? When you meet some people, everybody's wanting to help. Everybody's willing to do that. So, if you're a new commercial cleaning business owner and you don't go to an event, you still have social media, LinkedIn, all that kind of stuff to link up with commercial cleaning business owners and, ask them questions, become close with them. And then next thing you know, you've got a relationship and you've got somebody that you can ask questions to, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I
So,
remember that day when I met you, your son, I think Idol. Yeah.
Pyro, yeah, Pyro was there.
Yeah, he was there. And that day was amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And to be down there, I mean, it was close for you. We're coming from Washington, so it was good to be in California. But I was going to ask you, you're still young. I can tell you're still young and you're still somewhat new to the industry, right?
Very new, very new.
So I'm curious because you were working at Yelp full time. I mean, and you were killing it there. So you were doing well. I'm just curious how and why you got into the cleaning industry if you're doing so well with where you were at.
Yeah. I mean, if the name doesn't give off that I'm Brazilian, probably the accent will a little bit, but Brazilians, we're notorious for being in the cleaning industry when we come to America. And to be honest, when I was going to college, I put it in my head that I never wanted to go into the service industry. At the time, I was just like, you know what, you can't make money in this industry. It's hard work, and I don't want to do hard work, right? But my family, when they came to this country, they all worked in the cleaning industry, home cleaning, cleaning restaurants, cleaning offices. And so it was kind of like a given, like that I would know a little bit about this industry just because my family had been in it for so long and I had heard so many stories. And working at Yelp, it's kind of like getting an MBA for small businesses because you're working with all these little businesses and they're telling you everything about their day, everything about their marketing, everything about their financing and their accounting, HR. And then it starts giving you ideas. Maybe I should try something. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the people that have worked at Yelp have built their own businesses. There are people that have gone to open up tech companies. There are people that have gone to open up moving companies, myself, cleaning industry. And it's kind of exciting. It's kind of exciting because you learn about it. It's always changing, right? But the one constant that has never changed in this time is the need to sell myself, the need to sell a service, right? And so as you start to sell something, you start to build that confidence. And that's something I'm very grateful for having gone into the sales industry.
No, that's a cool story, and you're absolutely right. But it's cool that you got a kind of a crash course from other business owners, so you kind of learned what the pains were of running your own business. So you kind of had a feel for it before you jumped in. But did you take notes? Did you have a notebook with all these pros and cons of running your own business?
Oh yeah.
And you still decided to do it.
I would ask everything. I would say, how much do you charge for this job? Okay, what about if it's this size? How much do you charge? And how do you book it? And when because at the time when I started with like independent contractors. And I asked exactly what I wanted to know. Like, hey, how do you find independent contractors? And how do you pay them? Do you make them sign an agreement? What kind of agreements? And so I was asking, and they love to talk, like us. Like,
right? Yeah.
When you ask me a question, I can go on forever. And so that's similar to them. And they were being heard, right? And so to me, at the end of the day, I was learning. And second, it was easy to sell because they were talking about something they were passionate about. And so when it came time for me to recommend them what I was selling, it was like, yeah, Paulo, you know what? I like you. Let's do it.
That's cool. That's genius. Asking the questions that you get your own crash course there. I love it. I love
100%.
So you're young, you got into this, you decided to start your own business. I know from my end of things, from family and friends, it was like, Edwin, you went to school and you're starting a cleaning business. You want to be a janitor? Like, what's up with that? And you and I know, like, there's money to be made in this. It's a 90 billion plus industry a year, right? It's crazy money that's out there. But what did your family and friends say when you told them you were going to start a cleaning business?
So a few of them thought it was like a waste that I had gone to college for all those years. I had initially gone for kinesiology. I graduated with a bachelor's of science, and my next step would have been to get my DPT, doctor in physical therapy. But my mindset was a little bit different. I always, not always, but in the middle of my college days, I had decided that I wanted to have a business, and I was thinking for some time that it would have been in the physical therapy industry. But then I realized that I needed sales experience. So right out of college, I went in to get sales experience, and that's how I happened to get to Yelp. But family members, were like, why waste your degree? Why not become a physical therapist? And why not get more schooling? But money was also a factor, right? Like I had already been in upper education for a long time, and I wanted to make some money, and I had no money in a bank account. So it was two things, a need, and also two, I wasn't too into the kinesiology, physical therapy. I wanted to do more sales and put some money in the pocket too.
There you go. Money in the pocket. I like it. So what college, what university?
I started at San Francisco State, but I ended up graduating from a smaller private school called Notre Dame de Namur here in the Bay Area.
Okay, very cool. I mean, you got your degree, if cleaning doesn't work out, but it looks like it's going to for you, that you've got something to fall back on, which is, which is very, very cool. So, just kind of walking through your journey here. I mean, it's amazing already. You're learning from Yelp and all these small business owners. And then, you got your family and friends telling you things, and you've got your degree. So you're learning all this stuff. Was there a moment where you thought, okay, I'm going to go all in on this? Like, did it just hit you one day, one night? You just said, you know what, I'm doing it. I'm going in 1,000%.
Frustration. It was more of a frustration of not seeing results. In 2021, I decided to, because I at a certain point I wasn't giving my all to the cleaning industry. And at this time I was still in the residential side. It was 2021 and I was a little bit burnt out. So I decided to quit my job and take 3 months off and then kind of decide from there. And I had a little bit of money saved up. So I quit Yelp. I actually got into the moving industry. Laborious work, man. It was very exhausting. Decided to quit that right away. But then in 2022, I closed the residential side and I said, I'm going to go in 100% into the commercial side of things. And that's kind of how I kind of went in. So it was more of like a cold turkey and frustration from not seeing results. And having been so long in the residential industry and not seeing the money, that's when I decided to make that change.
Okay. So you jumped into commercial. Do you remember the very first building you ever had to clean? Because you went, did you already have a commercial account set up before you made that switch? Or did you just say, I'm done with residential, I'm going to start selling commercial?
We had like one little office, which we would clean every 2 weeks, but I didn't necessarily consider that as commercial just because it wasn't very frequent. But the moment I considered to have had like our first commercial client was when we got a pet hospital, and amazing people. They called us up. They had seen our ad online and they were like, hey, you guys have amazing reviews. I'd love to talk to you. And long story short, we ended up getting that client on a once a week basis. And for me, that was a change that I needed to see to believe in the industry and to believe that I was capable of going into the commercial.
Okay. So that was your first commercial account.
Yeah, that was the first one.
So how did the first night go when you started it? Because I've done animal hospitals and clinics, and there's a lot of hair and everything else everywhere.
Yeah, I can't tell you how it went because I wasn't the one who cleaned.
Okay, well, good for you. Pat on the back there.
I didn't know, but if it was me, I would have been like, man, I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing, which would have probably been true. But yeah, we had an independent contractor do that and they were amazing. The client, after the first service, they were like, hey, Paulo, night and day from what we had before. Oh, it felt easy, right? Because the client was easy client as well in a small building. So it worked out.
I'm getting a feel here. You're learning everything through when you're working at Yelp from all the small business owners that you didn't have to clean this first account yourself. I had to clean a lot of accounts in the beginning, but you were smart enough to hire a subcontractor, right? And did you learn that from just asking the small business owners through Yelp? See, there you go.
Asking. And I'm a sponge, like, and you know, Edwin, because I ask you a lot of questions on a day-to-day basis, and hey man, only God can pay you back for all the energy and information you've given me, and hopefully one day I could be of value to other young entrepreneurs too. But I'm a sponge. Whatever you tell me, I'm going to implement it right away, and I think that's very important in whatever industry people are, because you want to learn from people's mistakes faster than you learn from yours. So obviously, you want to learn from your mistakes, but if you can learn from somebody else's mistake before you make it, even better.
It's just throwing fuel on the fire, and you're going to fast track yourself and not have to deal with any of those failures, right? You just bypass them. So no, this
100%.
is great, man. So you are bringing value. You're bringing value to the new commercial cleaning business owners that are listening to this right now. I mean, I hope everybody's taking notes, because you're throwing out some gems right now, which is pretty cool.
I really hope, man.
You are. Let me ask you, because, I've been doing it for about 20 years. And in the beginning, there were some oh crap moments, right? Some big mess ups. Do you remember your first oh crap moment when you first started in commercial?
Yeah, there were a few. It was when we were doing it wasn't necessarily a strip and wax job. It was more of like a scrub and recoat for a sheet vinyl flooring. And I remember I had asked Ricardo, that was in your
Yeah.
previous episode, and I called him and I was like, hey, this clinic has this VCT, and he's like, well, send me a photo, because I didn't know if it was VCT, right? I just assumed the client didn't know what they had on the floor. So I sent him a picture, and I had already bought stripper chemical and finish. And he's like, don't put stripper on that. That's not VCT. And I'm like, what do you mean? I got the job like tomorrow. And he was like, don't put stripper on that. Call the flooring company, find out who the flooring company is. And he's like, that's probably a sheet vinyl. And then I did a little more digging, and I found out the manufacturer, and I called them, and they were like, don't put stripper on that. You'll damage the floor. So that was like my moment
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
I almost made a mistake.
Well, shout out to Ricardo for helping you out there. Huh? Save the day, because that your insurance premiums would have went up in a hurry, right? And it's funny, because I actually had a client that's been texting me and sending me pictures about VCT flooring, which he thought was VCT flooring, and he was hiring a subcontractor for it. I said, whoa, that's not VCT, that's sheet vinyl. And he went back and he ended up finding another subcontractor that knew what they were doing. So, yeah, it's cool hiring subcontractors and things like that, but you also have to hire people that actually know what they're doing. But
Absolutely.
You have to be the one to really understand it too. So it's great that you went and found some help from somebody that's within the industry too. So that's
Absolutely.
cool. Well, listen, Paulo, this is going to bring us to our first segment of the show. And this segment is the live sales role play. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put your sales skills to the test. So you got 3 years, but you got a ton of sales skills, and you seem pretty smart with everything that you were learning and writing down at Yelp, right? But before we jump into it, I need to give a shout out to our sponsor. So this segment of the show is brought to you by Scott Growth Strategies. Not getting responses from your email marketing? Let's be real. It's probably because your strategy sucks. If you want real results, emails that actually get opened, replied to, and turn into paying customers, then you need Scott Growth Strategies. They're not just good, they're your secret weapon. Get serious, get growing. Check them out at scottgrowthstrategies.com and let the pros take you to the next level. So, Paulo, I'm going to ask you a question, a common sales objection, and I want to see how you would handle this. So, let me know when you're ready, and I'll drop that question on you.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. All right, so Paulo, you've done the walkthrough with a potential customer. You've presented your proposal to them, proposal, scope of work, everything, and they hit you with the your price is too high statement. So walk me through what you would say to that potential client.
For sure. So with the experience in sales, my first initial thinking is this person is not seeing value in what I'm offering. And so the first thing I have to do is, instead of opening my mouth, is to ask a question. Hey, tell me more. Can you please tell me a little bit more? What are you comparing my prices to? You want to uncover any red flags, any blanks in that conversation or in that walkthrough, so that you can fill in. Somebody might say, oh, your pricing is too high. You did a walkthrough, but you didn't necessarily explain what you're going to solve, right? The client told you all of the issues they are having. Maybe it's communication. Okay, so now's an opportunity for you to share how you have better communication, your systems and processes, what software you use. Maybe they told you that Sometimes an employee of the other janitorial company doesn't show up to work, and no one comes to cover. So what kind of systems do you use that can help you prevent that? Have you shared that with the client? No? Well, then this is not necessarily an objection. The client is just saying, hey, can you please show me value about the objection or about the issues we're having?
I like it. Yeah. And you're digging deep, right? And it's always asking open-ended questions because you want them to continue talking, right? Like you said, if we ask you a question, you're just going to keep talking and talking, but that's the same thing, right? You ask that question, get them going, identify those pain points, and then redirect your questions. So no, that's a perfect answer. And you're just exploring and you're continuing to do that because again, you said it, the key word there is value. You have to show your value to that customer so that it gets away from really the price piece of it. It's what you bring to the table compared to your competition.
Absolutely, absolutely. And having done sales at Yelp, you're selling over the phone, so you can't necessarily see what the person is expressing and how their face or their actions are. And so you learn to really hear what they're saying, right? If their tone changes, or if their tone speeds up, or if their tone slows down, or if they say different things, right, with their tongue. So you learn to pick that up. And so when you're in person, your senses are even heightened because you've learned to pick it up over with the year. And now you're picking it up with the visual.
You're making me think I need to send my sales crew to get jobs at Yelp and go work there for a few years to learn some skills there, right?
All you need is 6 months to 12 months, and you'll come out of there a freaking shark.
That's cool. So, we're talking about sales now. So let's talk about what's working best for you to find new customers right now.
For sure. So now SEO is working great for us. We're getting lots of people reaching out. We've done some extensive SEO work in the last few years. I mean, the last year we haven't done much SEO work, but we're still placed pretty highly on Google, and that's been working out. Email marketing has been working. That has actually been one of our most successful in the Bay Area in terms of getting leads is through email marketing and following up with any warm leads, right? Sometimes people will respond and say, hey, we're not necessarily in the market right now, but we're going through changes and we might want you to come out and give us a proposal in 6 months. So you keep that and you note it down, in your CRM, put a note to yourself to check back in with that person. But SEO and email marketing has been pretty strong.
So for a lot of the new cleaning business owners that are listening, can you elaborate on what SEO is?
Yeah. So SEO, it stands for search engine optimization. So your marketing guy, whoever it is, they will optimize, could be your website. Nowadays, they're optimizing your Google page more so than your website. And, they're creating articles for you on other websites and linking back to you, writing articles on your website, linking back there, writing articles, linking your Google page, things like that, right? That's all. They're optimizing the search engine so that Google thinks that you're highly talked about and highly favorable so that when somebody searches for, let's say, janitorial company in your area, you'll show up higher, right, as an option.
There's a lot to that, right? It's just
There's a
3
lot.
letters, but it's a ton of stuff that goes into it. And it's not like a one-time thing and you're done. It's an ongoing thing, isn't it?
Because Google is always changing their algorithm. So search engine is here to stay, especially marketers for search engine optimization are here to stay.
So, some marketing techniques work. Have you had any marketing ideas that totally flop? You have any you want to share? Because people like to hear, again, we give advice so that people don't go down that path. I mean, I had a lot that failed in the beginning and with me, and I go on rants about this and I don't want to today, but it's the before and after photos of somebody that cleans a toilet thinking that that's a marketing campaign for them, but something that you tried that just completely flopped?
Oh yeah, big time. One time we were approached by a mailer company to send mails, to people's facilities. And at that time we spent like $3,000 and we didn't get a single lead off of it. And so to this day, no lead. And so I can't say that it worked, but
Wow.
it could be in different areas or different, right? Like in the Bay Area here, people are very tech savvy and very tech advanced. And so when it comes to searching for anything they want, they pull out their phone, they go to Google, or they pull up their laptop and they go online, right? And so they're not necessarily looking through the mail for a janitorial company.
Gotcha. No, and I think everybody's moving toward we're in the tech era, and that's what everybody's got an iPhone or an Android, and it's just easy access to that, right? But let's say right now, since we're talking about marketing, that I hand you $5,000 and I say, Paulo, go ahead and spend this on marketing for your business. how would you spend that $5,000 to market your business?
I would, first of all, if I had no idea how to do any marketing, I would invest in my learning. And then, second of all, whatever leftover I had, I would probably invest in like email marketing, maybe not SEO because SEO takes time, but the surest thing I would do is email marketing, right? I'd go on some sort of platform, purchase 1 to 2,000 leads with emails and phone number, and I would email and call down the list. And once you got a little more into it, then you can start setting email sequences, right? And sending 3 to 5 emails to those people. But right off the bat, if I have no clients, I would buy a list of like 2,000 clients with emails and phone number, and I would call every single one, and I would try to bombard them with calls once, twice, 3 times a week.
Well, you're spending my money well, so that's good.
Mm-hmm. Urgency is key, right? Like if you're calling, and you, Edwin, like you know this, like if you're calling somebody once a month, once every 2 months, this guy sees no urgency in what you're proposing or what you're selling. If you call that person 3 times a week, 4 times a week, and you call them 6 times within 2 weeks, obviously being professional, right? Saying like you probably haven't spoken with them, so you're calling, trying to get through gatekeepers and stuff. This person's like, man, Paulo's really trying to get a hold of me. Maybe I know this guy. Let me answer him. And so boom, you get the decision maker on the phone. Now is your time for that elevator pitch to get an appointment, right? An in-person appointment, not necessarily to sell him on the phone, but to buy another visit with him.
Okay. I'm curious, what's your ROI? What's your return on investment on your email marketing that you currently do?
Oh man, it's huge.
Is
It's
it?
huge. Yeah, I love email marketing.
Okay. No, I mean, you're getting me all jacked up to try to, work on my campaign. And, one of our
Yeah,
sponsors, Scott Growth Strategies, that's what they do. They work on email marketing campaigns.
that's
So
fantastic.
if you're thinking about it and you're listening to Paulo talk about this, I mean, take a look at our sponsor, Scott Growth Strategies, or just Google email marketing. It's something that you continuously have to do for your company. And if his ROI is good, he's telling you he's been in business for 3 years in a very big market. And he says he's getting a lot of ROI on it. There's a reason why. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. Last year, a majority of our new business came from email marketing, and that was my first year trying email marketing, and so I was pretty shocked. But yeah, I think different markets are different, right? Depending on where people are, you have to kind of test out your market and see what works. Like I said, mailer for me didn't work here, but in another area could work. It's just a matter of you got to test it out, right? You got to run tests. That's why Facebook and Google has different, they call them A/B tests.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to test your market.
Okay. So I'm kind of old school. I think I'm a little bit older than you, not by much, but I am. The old school method of just going out there and in-person prospecting, knocking on doors, introducing yourself, passing out your business card. Do you still do that?
We don't. And I'm embarrassed to say that, but I
No,
should.
I mean, you're doing all your campaigns. I think it's working for you.
Yeah, but as we grow and as we're able to afford somebody out on the field, 100%, because I don't think anything trumps an in-person visit, right? Especially with a genuine person who knows how to build relationships. I think that's number one, especially for bigger clients, especially when you're going to a building that's 30 floors and you're meeting in person, and the person that sees that you're investing in them and you're going there once a month, and you're bringing some coffee, you're bringing some pastries or whatever, right? And you're just saying, hey, I was in the neighborhood, I wanted to stop by. I know you're not looking to get janitorial services right now, but I thought about you, wanted to say hello.
That's how you
Man,
do it.
that goes a long way.
It's powerful,
And
isn't it?
100%.
Yeah. And there's a lot of new business owners that listen to this podcast, and a lot of them reach out to me too. And I don't know if it's they're afraid. I think it is a little bit of fear, nervousness to go in there, but you're a business owner. You got to put yourself out there. You're in business. And if you want it to grow, you mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's all about sales, right? That's the life. That's the livelihood of your business. You got to be able to do it.
For sure. And can I share a little nugget here with your listeners and your viewers?
Absolutely.
One thing that we can use as salespeople, right? Like we're always selling, is we got to change our mindsets a little bit in terms of that fear. So, okay, this person, you say, hey, you should go in door to door knock and just introduce yourself. Sometimes we need a mindset shift. For example, instead of you seeing it as you're selling them, come in and saying, introduce yourself. Hey, my name is Paulo. I'm in a janitorial industry. I'm a young entrepreneur. I'm looking for opportunities. Let them know where you're at right now, and maybe they can help you. But don't necessarily think that you have to go and sell them on the first visit. Think of it as more of you're introducing yourself in the industry or in the city you're in, because you have a goal of growing in your industry and also improving your city, right? Like impacting the people that you work with, impacting their families, impacting the businesses you will be serving. So sometimes we have to simplify it a little bit and make it easier on ourselves because we overcomplicate it in our heads. Oh, I need to go there, but I need to know this. I need to have insurance. I need to have a license. We don't simplify, just simplify.
Yeah, no, I love it. You're sharp, man. I mean, all this knowledge you're bringing, I love it. You were wondering about bringing value. You're definitely
I
bringing it.
hope so, man. I hope so.
I just want to touch really quick. One last thing on the marketing piece is because I see you on LinkedIn. Are you using any type of social media? Because again, LinkedIn, I see you're active there, but do you see any value from social media marketing?
I see a lot of value. Currently, I don't put a lot of work in there as I should, especially on LinkedIn, because I've been here's an excuse. I've been a little busy, but as we grow and I hire people to help us, I want to spend more time, especially on LinkedIn and other professional platforms.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think in the beginning, you mentioned using a subcontractor for that very first account that you had. You didn't have to clean it yourself, but you've been in business 3 years. You're in a big market. How many employees do you have?
Today, we're at 20 employees.
Okay. I forget what the stat is, but a lot of new businesses, less than 5 years, a lot of them aren't at, that 20 mark. It's difficult to get to that mark. So I think you're on the right track there. Are you looking at just doing it hybrid, some subcontractors, some employees? Are you looking at just doing it all in-house?
For now, we kind of transition out of the subcontractor into the in-house, but I wouldn't say that I'm opposed to it. Obviously, the regulations in California are pretty strict when it comes to subcontracting. But as I become more versed in the laws and things like that, I want to pursue it a little bit more. But like I said, I'm not opposed to it.
Okay. I can kind of see looking in here, I got some gray hairs, but a lot of us that have been in the industry, we have gray hairs because we have our share of interesting stories about employees. Do you have any interesting stories of employees that you've had? I mean, we all have them, right?
Yeah, man, like good employees or just challenging employees?
Both. Yeah. Challenging though. Those are kind of the stories that a lot of us, it's stressful sometimes with employees.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it takes a lot of patience, right? And Edwin, I think, like you said, for maybe for each hair is one employee we're patient with that you didn't like. I want to choke him. But many instances, I think part of the issue for me was at the beginning was hiring the wrong people, right? When you're starting, you're hiring people that are like you, and you don't need employees that are like you to work for you, right? You need different types of employees. And so at the beginning, I was hiring people that were like me, that were very entrepreneurial and wanted to open up their own thing. And I was like, man, this guy's amazing. We click. But that wasn't the right staff member. And so that situation of people quitting within a month, right? Had situations with people just wanting to get paid more, people not wanting to show up, or it takes time, right? Everything takes time. You if you're trainable, you'll learn to stop making the same mistakes. And obviously, I haven't stopped making the same mistakes. Obviously, we try to hire the right people, but it's challenging.
Challenging is a good way to put it. Yeah. We have an HR department now. And so I'm not allowed in that office, and I'm not allowed to make decision on a lot of employees because sometimes I go off the deep end. So I stay out of it and this is a true story. It was maybe a couple of years ago, or maybe it was recent. I can't remember, but I had fired an employee and it was a fireable offense, but I didn't follow the steps, and I'm the owner of the company. And I fired this person, and HR said, you have to call them and bring them back on board with the company. So crazy, right? Like just all these things with employees. And so that's why with my company, we're doing a little bit of hybrid. We're doing our own employees, but plus we're looking at subcontractors, because with subcontractors, you don't have to worry about having a staff. That's on your subcontractor, right? So they can handle it, and less gray hairs, because I don't know if I can take on any more. But yeah, it just makes it easy on all of us, right?
I got my first one. It's been here for a couple of years now.
Yeah,
I hope it just stays as one.
You can't see it. You can't see it. So Paulo, this is going to bring us into the next segment of the show. And I like to call this segment After Hours Confessions. Okay. And so this is your opportunity to share a story about you or your business that no one has ever heard before, or maybe you have a hidden talent that not many people know about. So are you willing to share something with us?
A hidden talent. When I was a young kid, and when I was like 10 or 11, I used to walk on my hands. And one time I walked around a whole block. It wasn't necessarily a block, it was like a nightclub. I don't know what I was doing at a nightclub when I was like 10 years old. But my parents went and they were allowed to bring kids. So I walked around the block on my hands. That's one of my hidden talents. I could still do it, not as great, but
I was just going to ask, can you still do it? Yeah, that's crazy.
I could do maybe 10 steps and then I'll fall on my butt.
There you go. Well, that's cool. No, thanks for sharing that. Like I said earlier, and I've said it on other shows, we had somebody that sang on the show. We had somebody that shared that they were having a
Oh,
baby,
wow.
and now you're somebody that can go on your hands and go around a block. Wow,
Hey, I
crazy.
walk upside down.
That's crazy. So, looking ahead, where do you want to take your business in the next couple of years? Because again, you're in a big market. It's a competitive market. What's the vision for the next couple of years for you in the business?
Yeah, I mean, the next couple of years, we want to hire more in on-site staff, like an office manager, get our first operations manager, and we're looking to triple our company within the next 2 years. So going from 20 to 60 employees.
It's pretty ambitious.
Some people would say otherwise, but thank you.
So do you have your own office right now, or are you still out of your house, or how is that?
Thankfully, we've been able to open up our own office. I'm not in office now, but we opened up our first office in March of this year. And
Congrats. That's
thank you, thank you. I
that's an
was able
awesome
to take
milestone.
it is, it is. I was able to take all the stuff from our living room and from our bedroom and from our storage, our garage. Man, it was getting insane. I was getting overwhelmed, claustrophobic, you know.
I remember those days. I remember those days.
But you have to do what you have to do, and like it's fun because you get to be scrappy. You get to figure things out as you're going. And man, you just always have to feel like the underdog. You always have to be hungry. You always have to be like out for the hunt. And it's all part of it.
Yeah, and even if you reach to a certain level, even if you reach that goal in the next 2 years, don't be satisfied with that, right? You got to keep pushing yourself, because I've seen a lot of businesses, their goal is to get to 25,000 billing a month, and then they get there, and then next thing you know, they're making 10,000 a month because they took their foot off the gas and they just stopped. But once you get to certain milestones, once you get to 25,000, if your goal is to get to 100,000, you got to keep pushing. But at the same time, you have to change the way that you're doing business too, right? Because you're looking at going from 20 employees to 60 employees, but then you're going to have to hire management staff in there, and you're going to have to train that management staff. And then if you go from 60 to 100 employees, you're going to have to hire more. There's got to be standard operating procedures into place. And so you're always reinventing your business. Otherwise, if you keep it the same, you're not going to grow. You just have to stay
Absolutely.
ahead of the trends and continue to invest in yourself and invest in your team. And I know that you invest in yourself because that's where I met you, at a conference industry event. Do you invest in your team? Granted, it's 20 employees right now. Like, what kind of things do you do to invest in them?
So yeah, constant training, making sure I try to invest my time into them too, getting to know them, visiting them in terms of making them better cleaners. Obviously, we can go through feedbacks, right? And do retraining in terms of things like that. But one of my lifelong goals with this industry is, and here's another little nugget for people, if people aren't already doing that, or if they're thinking about doing that. I take things very seriously. Everybody that works with me, I think about them very seriously, and they become like family. And a lot of our workers are Spanish speakers, right? And so a few issues I notice with, I'm Latino too. So let me say it with Latinos is we don't learn the language, or we don't have the opportunity to learn the language. And two, we work really hard, but we don't know how to manage our finances. So as we grow and as we become more capable, I want to offer a few things to our people. English classes and a financial literacy class. Why do you want to offer English? Because they will have more opportunities with us, right? They can see a future light at the end of the tunnel saying, hey, you know what? If I learn English, Paulo will hire me for supervisor. Paulo will hire me to be an office manager. Paulo will hire, and even if it's not with Paulo, it could be somewhere else. And that's okay. But you know what? I believe in leaving that person better than I found them.
It's helping them open up doors.
100%. Like somebody helped me, why can't I help that person? And then the financial literacy, I hear, people are working full-time day jobs, and then they come work with us for a part-time, and then they work another job on the weekend. And I feel really bad because at the end of the month, they don't have any money. And so where is that money going? Can we educate them on financial literacy to help them maybe reinvest their money or not spend their money, like have an idea about money. So, and third thing, the last thing that we want to be of help to our staff is having a daycare for single mothers, right? So when they come to work, they can drop off their kid and go to work, and they feel safe and comfortable knowing that there's somebody there to watch their kid while they go to work.
Sure. And that's tough. There's a lot of single mothers, single fathers out there too that are having to take care of their children. But to speak on that financial piece too, I think we all need it. I don't know, maybe my wife's very good with finances, but she tends to spend a lot on vacations. So maybe we need to set something up with her on that, right? But hey, I wanted to ask you, because we were, talking about sales, you're talking about SEO, you were at Yelp, you're doing all this stuff. You're not actually knocking on doors, but you're making a lot of phone calls and you're very aggressive in that sense of nature. But if you were to land your dream client tomorrow, who would that be? I mean, you're in a tech area, right? You've got most of any of the big name companies in and around where you're at.
For sure. That's a tough question, Edwin. I gotta give it to you because I think this will be a little bit different, but nowadays I will have to say that I'm pretty lucky, I'm pretty blessed, because I would say all of the clients we have right now, they are our ideal client. Why do I say that? Because although some of them can be a little challenging, they're amazing people, and I feel like we do an amazing service for them and they respond very, very positively to that. And so I have to say that they're all our ideal client. But now if I can add on to your question, any client that is respectful, who sees the value that we offer, that to me is an ideal client,
That's huge. Yeah.
That's huge. It's huge because you know how it is when you like I took maybe an hour or two of your time a few days ago. We were talking about an opportunity that came up and whether or not I should take it. And I felt like that opportunity would have taken a lot of my energy, And so to say the least, that wasn't an ideal opportunity. So sometimes I say a little prayers, man, and I say, hey, if this is not the right opportunity, if you don't think that I will help this client, or if you don't think that this client will be healthy for me, give them to somebody else, even if it's $1 million client, even if it's a $500,000 client, because I trust in the process. I trust in the process. I don't need to eat everything at my table. The time will come.
Yeah, no, I love that. It almost sounds like you're running for mayor or you're running for office here with your answers. I mean, these are good. I like this.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Well, hey,
It's
go ahead.
It's just the truth.
Oh, and I like that. I mean, I think that's what I really like about you is, and it's not just that the truth, but well, I guess it is, because if you don't know something, you're out there looking for it. Right. And like you said, you're a sponge too, and you'll do whatever you have to do to find that answer. And I think, transparency with customers is what you need. And I know that we talked about that particular possible customer you were dealing with. And I think I told you, if it's not a good fit, and it doesn't fit your values, it's probably not going to work in the long run. You're just going to have more issues than you are positive stuff that's going to come out of it. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So listen, but before we end this, I wanted to ask you, it's been like 50 minutes. Like,
I'm about to pull the rug and start asking you questions, man, because I'm the one that wants to learn here.
No, I mean, this is good. I mean, we're almost 50 minutes in, and I mean, we're just, we're just having a conversation, which is good. So for your first podcast, it's pretty good, right? You're going to start getting phone calls for other podcasts. But remember, the first podcast you were on was the Built After Hours podcast.
Built After Hours, baby. Let's go.
Listen, I like to ask all the guests, because I had a mentor when I started that put me on the right path, and he had always given me advice. And I think if you watch some of the stuff, I always talk about Pitbull. And Carla, who I just had on, gives me crap about it, because there's one thing that he says, and it's ask for money, get advice, ask for advice, get money twice. And I love that. I love that saying, right? So it sticks with me. But for you, have you ever received any advice from someone and it's stuck out to you and it's maybe helped you along your journey?
Received several advices, but let me think of one in particular. I need some time to think about this one because I'm trying to think of the best one.
Well, you have so many of them, right? I mean, we all get them. Yeah.
Yeah. And they all serve their purpose at the time when you need them. And they're all very good, but some advice. Oh, one advice here. It's for both the client and also an employee that you're hiring. right? If they're not 100% yes, they are 100% no.
Okay. I see it. I see it. Do you remember who gave you that advice?
Yes.
Okay. That's good. That's good. So, hey, looking back now, is this your third year or are you going on 4 years now?
We're about to wrap up our third year, and no, actually, we just wrapped up our third year. Yeah, now we're going on a fourth.
Time flies, right? So, going through full 3 years of being in the industry, is there anything now that you see what it's like, right? Is there anything that you would do differently? Or are you glad that you took the path that you did to get to where you are?
I wish I was a little bit faster, but everybody learns at their own pace, right? Knowing what I know now, I would have definitely done a lot of things differently, but I think I needed to learn everything in my own time, and there were things that took longer to learn, like hiring the right people. And then I'm still learning how to bid accurately. That's something that I'm pretty sure is ongoing, right? Not underbidding, not overbidding, but just there. I mean, if I had to start all over, I'd be happy if I did the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
If I had the same path.
I'm the same way. If I didn't learn some of the things that I learned and saw some of the things that I saw, I don't think that I would be where I'm at now, right? You have to learn it. You have to see it firsthand to you're the leader of your company, right? So you have to be able to see everything, and if they're coming, your employees are coming to you to know the answers. And so you've
Absolutely.
been through it, so you should understand, and you can be able to answer any question that they have. And I can tell you, a lot of people get into this industry and they go really, really fast, super fast, and they keep growing and growing. And then that fall from up there is big time. And I've seen it happen time and time again. So there's nothing wrong with going slow. Let's say your first 3 to 5 years, you're slowly going, but then by year 5, you figured it out. And that's where, boom, it just starts to take off and you can handle it. You've got the right crew on staff. You've got the right mindset. All your employees are set, subcontractors, floor crew, window cleaning crew. And then you can take off and go after anything you want. I mean, Silicon Valley is not far from you. I mean, there's the tech mega world is right there that you could take over once you get everything figured out, so just stay the pace that you're staying. I think you're on the right path right now.
Absolutely. And you tapped into something that's very important, is the mindset, right? The mindset. I know it's cliche to say, and we hear it all the time, but when you're being challenged day in and day out, you start to hear the positive and the negative, right? The little angel and the devil. And then you see that the little devil just keeps bringing you down. And then you start realizing, no, what? I have to not listen to that. I have to listen to this, the positive, because the positive is what makes me go about my day and figure things out. So mindset is cliche to say, but it's very important.
Yeah. A lot of people say it, but it's just really taking it to heart and really understanding and having some actionable items on that mindset. So if you say you're going to get up in the morning and work out, do it. Don't just say you're going to do it. You say you're going to get 60 employees. Don't just say it. Go out there and do it. Right. So I see you doing it, though. I don't see that being a problem for you.
Thank you. They say, I don't know if this was, I can't remember who it was, but whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
Exactly. Yep. So listen, this is going to bring us to the final segment of the show. I love to play games on this show. Keep it good. Keep it going. You already know what segment is coming up here, but this segment of the show I like to call Rapid Fire Roulette. And so I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and I'll give you 3 seconds to give me a quick answer. So you down to play the game?
Let's go, man. I don't know if I'll be as fast as Ricardo, but I'll do my best.
He is your Brazilian brother, right?
Hey, man. He did jujitsu, and I did a little jujitsu too. And jujitsu is a arte suave. It's like a slow art, right? But when it comes to answering, he's like boom, boom, boom. I'm like, man.
He was pretty quick. Well, it is rapid fire roulette, so I expect nonetheless from you.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
1 word to describe your first year in business. Challenging. Go-to fast food spot between jobs.
Between Chipotle.
What's more stressful, hiring or selling?
Hiring.
Dream vacation, where would it be?
South Asia, somewhere. Thailand.
Okay. If your business was featured in a movie, what actor would play you?
Me.
You.
What actor? Man, this guy right here.
All right, that works. You got the look for it.
Okay, I'll tell you who though. I'll tell you, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Okay. No, I can see the results. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thanks for playing the game there.
Thank you, man. My friends used to call me the Brazilian Tom Cruise. I'm like,
There you
you
go.
think so?
Maybe you should update your social media with that.
The Brazilian Tom Cruise.
The Brazilian Tom Cruise. I like it. I like it. Listen, we talked about your goal that you have set for this year, and it's a pretty big goal. And so I'm looking forward to kind of following the journey to see where that goes. But as you know, I've said it a few times, we've got a lot of new commercial cleaning business owners that listen to this show, and we try to give them as much value as possible, right? Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help these new commercial cleaning business owners. Somebody gave you advice. You had a lot of it, and it stuck out to you. What advice would you give the new cleaning business owners that are listening to this show for their journey?
Don't quit. Don't quit, because quitting is easy. And if no one quit, it would be impossible for you to compete. Right? Being poor is hard. Being rich is hard. You choose your hard, right? And so don't quit. Don't quit. Be the first in your family to not quit.
There you go. Don't quit and choose your hard. Like it. It's good advice. You've been dropping gems left and right on this show.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
Well, listen, Paulo, I appreciate you being a guest on the show. It was great getting to know a little bit more about you. I know we met in person, but this is great just to kind of really get a feel for who you are and the type of business owner that you are. And I know the listeners got a ton of value from what you shared with us. So truly, truly thankful that you were able to come on the show today.
Man, the pleasure's all mine, Edwin. I really appreciate you. And like I said, I'm very honored to be here and give some gems to your listeners and your followers. I think the people that are listening here, they're doing the right thing because they're hungry. And you should always be hungry, no matter, like you said, no matter where you're at. If you're at the top, you're at the middle, always be hungry to learn, right? They say the faster you learn, the more you learn, the more you earn. And so if you're not learning here, you're learning at a book, you're learning by calling Edwin or by being part of the blueprint janitorial, right? Learning, participating in events, have to be learning. And young kids coming up now, right? Like you and I might not know, but there might be somebody coming up right now with 5-10 employees who figured something out about the industry that we can utilize for us to help take us also to the next level.
Absolutely.
It could be something about tech, could be something about AI. Hey, I want to hear it, and so we can all learn from each other.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. No, I appreciate it. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm going to continue to follow your journey. I'm going to hold you accountable to that 60 employee mark that you want to hit. So
I appreciate you.
All right, that's a wrap for this week's episode of Built After Hours. Huge thanks again to Paulo for coming on and sharing his story. If you got value from today's show, make sure you subscribe, like, and leave a comment. It helps more cleaning business owners find this show and grow with us. And hey, next week, we're heading over to the East Coast. I'll be sitting down with a true cleaning industry veteran out of Massachusetts. You won't want to miss this one. So we'll see you on the next Built After Hours.